Welcome to another episode of the Excellent Podcast. I'm your cinematic host, STEFON WHITAKER, the head honcho of SW Films. And we have a very, very, very special guest on the podcast today. Okay, she's a very special guest, yo, because
Oh my gosh.
she is like the definition of excellent for real. So I'm so incredibly happy to have her on this podcast. My dear friend, my homegirl, is such a trendsetter, such a phenomenon in Fort Wayne and just Indiana overall, and just an incredible creative, an incredible inspiration to lots of people. So I'm happy to be able to have her on the podcast to interview her and just be able to spread that message, tell your story, all that kind of stuff. Got
Yeah.
Kelsey Martin, aka formerly known as OGKillaKels, is here on the podcast today. How are you doing? How are you doing,
I'm
Kelsey?
great. Man, that intro was like, I felt like I was about to start coming into like the ring. Like, should have had my gloves and everything.
Come on,
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How are you, love?
I'm cool. Today it's a nice day here in California. It's been a chill day for me. I had a homie stay at my place for like 3 days because we had some work on set at the beginning of the week. So it's just been a lot of conversation. It's also been a lot of just getting this podcast back in order because as people have, this is episode 16 that people will be seeing. So this is
Good.
the second episode of season 1 of the Excellent Podcast. So this is definitely just getting back into the routine of podcasting and getting these interviews set up and just setting up, just trying to set up interviews for different people that I'm friends with, of course, like yourself, and then people I don't know even. So
Yeah.
it's been cool. But
Good.
yo, thank you once again just for hopping on the podcast. This is long overdue. And yeah, I think we should start delving into it because there's just a lot of questions I have, and there's a lot of answers. There's a lot of just you speaking I just want to listen to.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, introduce yourself, speak to your excellence, let my audience and other folks know who you are and what you do.
Well, I am Kelsey Martin, aka OGKillaKels. You can call me OG. I'm 28. My mom have a little 2-year-old named August.
Shout
I
out August.
do, yeah, I do so much. I photography, I curate, I direct, I host events, I put on events. I just jack of all trades. Like Stefan said, I live in Indiana, Fort Wayne. Graduated with my bachelor's in communicative arts and graphic design at University of St. Francis. I'm currently working with kids right now. I am a behavioral technician, um, which basically teaches highly behaviored autistic kids how to cope with
Mm-hmm.
having autism safely. So that's kind of rough. But it's taught me a lot of things because August is autistic too. He's on the spectrum. So I kind of bring that home, and that kind of helps me be a better parent to him. And yeah, so that's pretty much my life in a couple of sentences.
All right. I mean, there's so much to delve into it because you do a lot of stuff. And like, I think for the people who are listening and watching this, a lot of people know that you've done a lot of just amazing things. But I think that I'm sure you'd probably agree that right now, some of the main stuff that a lot of people see from you is a lot of your photography,
Mm-hmm.
which is incredible. It's like every single year it gets better and better and better. And I'm just like, damn, yo. Um,
Thank
it
you.
just gets better. And like, I've hired Kelsey to be a part of my productions whenever I have productions back home in Indiana, to be the behind the scenes photographer, to be the set photographer, and just, all types of different, whatever I can have in that visual standpoint in terms of stills. I always try to make sure to get Kelsey on, because I mean, you quickly became like my favorite photographer, like for real, like really damn quick. You know what I mean? And I want to say the very first time that we first met, right? We first met, I want to say it was 2017 or 2018. I want to say it was maybe 2018, I feel like probably. but we
Mm-hmm.
met at it was at, I don't remember what the fuck that damn place is called. The Volt, whatever the
Punch.
hell that.
Was it Punch?
No, it wasn't Punch. It was a venue though. It wasn't a it was like a warehouse type of deal.
Yeah.
Um it has a weird name to it, and you know what it is. I just can't think of the damn name. The
Man,
something
I
with a
know
W.
exactly.
I think, right? A
Oh, you
W
talking
or
about Wonder Camera?
one, yeah, Wonder Camera.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Wonder Camera. Okay.
Wonder Camera. And we had met there, and I was with somebody who I won't name who that person was, but I was with that person showing up there. And I just showed up there just to say what's up, whatever. And then I
Mm.
remember she introduced me to you. And I was like, oh shit, nice to meet you, Kelsey, da da da, whatever. We had a conversation. And then after that, I don't think we really spoke or like really kept in touch or anything like that. We never really built a friendship at that time. But I want to say it came more right when I came home, maybe in 2019, or no, 2020. I want to say possibly. I want to say I
I think it was
came
like COVID. I
home.
think it was like right in the midst of COVID a little bit.
Yeah,
Like it
it
was kind of
definitely
weird. I
was.
had just had August. I know I had just had August.
Yeah, so like around that time, yeah, like I was literally, I had I came home from work. I remember I just got freshly out of a relationship. So I was definitely
Yeah.
in my mind depressed as shit. But at that time I was like back home. I was planning a couple different productions, but the one production that you were part of was a music video I did for YK Nate, or however you say his damn name. But we did we
Sorry.
young King Nate. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, we did a music video, and you were on as my BTS photographer as well as kind of somewhat of a PA. And after that, I mean, it really just formed from there. And I think just outside of the work, I was like, yo, Kelsey's a cool ass fucking girl. And like she's super creative, and I'm inspired by her. So I'm like, it just built into more of just being like, okay, no, we gonna be like real friendship, real brother and sister
Yeah.
type, that kind of thing. And that was really cool. And that was kind of how it started between us. And once again, I just mentioned like how amazing just all the photography and all that stuff has been for you. I really want to know, you've told me obviously, but just for the folks that want are getting to know you, like how did you actually
Yeah.
get started into doing photography in the beginning of your career?
So I think I was in my junior year of college, and because I was in like the arts, I was getting an art degree, I had to take a concentration in photography, which I was like, okay, they go hand in hand with graphic design. That's cool. Um, so the more I started taking those classes, the more I started to realize, like, yo, this might have been what I probably should have went to school for. But we got 1 year left. I'm not trying to go like 5 more years into school. But I think what made me fall in love with it is St. Francis takes you all the way back to the basics, like film. So I learned how to develop. I've been in the dark room before. It's been a
Mm-hmm.
while, but I had to learn how to develop, learn the process of just like how, like back in the 1800s, how you can only get one shot, and it took
Mm-hmm.
like days to like develop and stuff like that, to transitioning into digital, which I enjoy digital also. And I think I also found out that I enjoyed taking pictures of people rather than things, because
Mm-hmm.
we had to shoot like things on metal, things on glass, and I struggled so bad with that. But like when it came to like portraits and like, or just even action shots, just a person itself, themselves, I was like, I fell more in love with that. Like I succeeded in all of that. So, um, I got my degree, and my cousin in Chicago, I don't know if he still raps, but he had hit me in. I was doing like some design work for him, and he was like, "Yo, do you do pictures?" And I'm like, I mean, I took a couple classes. I don't have my own camera. Um, but my cousin who lives here, she did photography. So I called her. I was like, hey, can I borrow your camera? Please, real quick. I just need to get a
Real
couple
quick.
shots. So she let me borrow it. And they came out ass. They were horrible. Um, but
What
like
was bad about
being,
them? What was bad about them that you
they were
remember?
just like really dark. and like my shutter speed was at a ridiculous number. Like this was before I even knew how to shoot in manual. Like I was going off the strength of what the camera was collecting on its own.
Yeah,
But my
yeah,
cousin wasn't tripping because one, it was free, and two, he's just like,
yeah.
man, I'd see something at the time. I think Instagram was like getting there. It wasn't as like prominent as it is now. So he's like, yeah, I
Hmm,
gotta put these
hmm.
on Facebook. Um, but then like it made me wonder. It made me wonder like, okay, so how can I make this picture better?
Mm.
So I kept shooting, kept shooting. My mentor, he's a photographer, so he's giving me tips. And then he was like, he took me out one day and he's like, you got to shoot in manual. You can't shoot in aperture. So I'm freaking out because I'm like, how do I
Yeah,
do this? And so it took about like 5 shoots. He was like, literally just fiddle with it, fiddle with your aperture, fiddle with your shutter speed, all of that. And then I got started getting more confident, started taking people in. And actually, you are the first time that I've ever like consistently did behind the scenes.
mm.
And so actually
Yeah.
that video with Nate, I didn't want to tell you then because I was like, oh, he's paying me for this. But I was really nervous because I was like, I'm so used to like setting up the shot and taking it. I'm like, these people are just moving and I'm just supposed to like catch
Yeah,
it, you know? But then like I was just like, let's just do it. The energy like was there and it just motivated me. And I was like, I just gotta stop being scared. So
yeah.
thank you for that.
Of course.
But yeah, ever since then, yeah, it's just
It
I was
just kind
making
of,
money off of it now.
yeah,
Making money off of it. It was another stream of income because I'm a single mom. So like, and now I'm at a point right now, which I'm pretty sure we'll talk about down the line, where I don't even. I'm just shooting to shoot now because I love it. So it's a
yeah.
little bit long winded. My bad.
No, that's great. That's great. And I think, I mean, it's just crazy to see kind of the scope of it. It's like in the beginning where it's like, damn, I'll go ahead and shoot something that's free for somebody that I know, and hopefully it turns out good. And then like we all have that, right? Like our very first
Yeah.
thing is like terrible or whatever, and then we just get better the more that we keep trying at it. You know what I mean? Like I look back at a lot of my old music videos and I'm like, damn, these shits were really bad. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and yeah, I wish I could just find the very first thing that I ever tried to like that I filmed and edited. It was something that I did. I want to say when I was in film school, but like I mean, it was terrible. It was just me filming with this General Electric camera, the very basic.
Yeah.
Had to put AA batteries in it, and it was like a DSLR that my mom gave me or whatever. But I filmed a bunch of random stuff in Florida where I was living at, and tried to edit it and put some music with it, and from there you just keep learning and you keep toying around with it. But some
Yeah.
crazy shit. So for you though, like photography, that's like one of those main things. But you also have done, I mean, so much. Like you've hosted different shows,
Yeah.
curated different like galleries and different things with events. Like you said, getting into directing and stuff. Like what when it comes to those other things that are in that creative space for you, like how did you get started into that? And or how did photography lead into those particular things as well?
Well, I'll start off with my art shows because I actually have a story for that. So like I keep mentioning, I went to St. Francis. And every year well, your freshman year, sophomore year, you don't have to, but your junior or senior year, you have to submit work into like the yearly show that they have every year.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't do it my freshman and my sophomore year because I just like my classmates like just blew mine out the water. And the older I get, I realize it's because it wasn't what I really wanted to do. So I like half-assed a lot of it. So
Yeah.
my junior year, I didn't want to put any of my designs in. And so my photography teacher was like, just put your photos in. So I'm like, all right, submitted 10, only one got picked. And it,
Mm.
in my opinion, was the worst one that out of all 10. So my senior year,
Yeah.
I had to do like a little setup, like a little installation. Everybody else had these big walls, and I had a little corner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to say this nicely. I don't like St. Francis. Uh, I hate their arts program. For the simple fact that there was one professor that like literally tried to ruin my life. I don't know if he was racist or what, But like my mom had breast cancer at the time. I was trying to work full time to like
Mm,
put myself through school, help her, and try to figure out my life. So, and all my other professors were understanding of that, but him. And he
right.
literally told me 2 weeks before I graduated that my portfolio was not ready for anything. Um,
Wow.
so we'll put a pin in that. We'll talk about that more. But anyways, I said that all to say that it was just like very discouraging because like no one really visited my area, none of that. So I was like, I think I'm just gonna put on my own art show. Like, especially for the people who like submitted work and it didn't get picked.
Yeah.
And so my dad owns Big Coffee here in town in Georgetown. And so around the corner is this guy named Dustin that owned the fudge shop that was there at the time. And he literally had this big ass room and like he used the corner of it.
Hmm.
And so he paints and he does like stained glass and stuff like that. So I was making his coffee and I was just telling him like I really want to do this art show, but I don't know what to do. And he was like, just have it at my shop. The problem was it was all brick.
Mm.
Like we can just buy sheets of drywall. Everybody gets a sheet of drywall, and we'll just put it up on like the pillars on the wall. Just lean it up, and like we'll just have like a makeshift art show. Had over 200 people there because it was in the summer. Left the doors open so everybody in Georgetown who was like walking could come in and out. I had shout out to Julia Rice and Ahmad McElroy. They both sold like $500 pieces. This is like the first show.
Wow.
All because my work got rejected at school. And
Yeah.
I think because my work getting rejected and just like everybody that went there had a silver spoon in their mouth except for me and like two other kids. And of course we're all black. Like the rest of there was three black kids in the art department at the
Hmm.
time that was in my year. So I think that just like really motivated me to just be like, yo, like you can do this. Like you don't need, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't
Right.
need
Right.
uh the acceptance or like you don't need they're a whole nother world. You're not even a part of that world. You're a part of this world. So that's how I started my art shows. And it also gives a platform to artists who don't know where to start because that's kind of how I was. I graduated and I was like, what's next?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then with like hosting, I used to do open mics. My friend, you know, Cambry,
Hmm.
he does like a whole bunch here in town. He sings, um, and he also like just loved the whole like speakeasy, like open mic thing. And he was like, I really need a co-host. And I was like, I mean, I'll try it. I was like, you have to talk more than me because I'm not, you know. And then the more that I got, we started getting more people. We did it every Wednesday night down at the old Tiger Room at is Welch's now, but
Yeah.
CS3.
Yeah. Yep.
And we had a packed house one night, and Cambry wanted to perform, but he's like, you got to take over the stage for a little bit so I can get ready. So I'm like, oh shit, like what am I gonna say for like 10
Yeah.
minutes? And so I just really got up there and the crowd started laughing at me and I was like, okay, this is all right. And so that between me hosting my art shows and working with other people's events, I just got so comfortable with being in front of people that now
Yeah.
I'm doing Mac Day at the Brass Rail and I'm
That was dope,
lit
by
with
the
all the
way.
people. Thank you.
Yeah, that
Like,
was so cool. I like that's something I wish I could have been around for because I was just talking to my homie that was out here about Mac Miller and when he passed away, and it was just like I told him I was like, yeah, my homegirl actually just threw like this whole event, hosted this event about Mac and whatnot back home, and I'm like that. Just seeing the pictures and everything that I seen about that looked amazing.
that was a crazy shout out to Jay Tubbs because he asked me, he was like, I don't know anybody else who loves Mac Miller more than you here in the city. And it was just like it's kind of weird to say, but I kind of felt his spirit there because it was just like
Yeah,
the energy and like Tubbs was playing like some deep cuts, like stuff I hadn't heard from high school. And like just to hear them like sing it and rap it, I'm like, yo, it was inspiring because I'm like, this man
yeah,
really impacted, you know, he was what, like 25 when he passed. So
yeah,
like to just see somebody around our age to be able to bring a crowd of folks together, black, white, Asian, like it wasn't just white folks. Um, Yeah. So I guess
Yeah,
that's the
that's
reason
crazy.
why I do it. That's the reason I love to entertain. I just love making people laugh, smile, like giving people opportunity. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So,
So that's all that's beautiful, right? And it's just there's so much of that, like just a lot of really cool, like just the story of, like being able to do the art show like at someone like was basically like a friend's in their shop, you know what I mean? And then
hmm
be able to
yeah,
host for your friend for their event. And like I think that's really, really dope, right? And like in terms of like the hosting the art show, I want to go to that for a second.
yeah.
Like when you did that first art show, I want to say that I've seen those pictures that you posted from that art show, but I want to
hmm
say like it was all like other folks' art. It wasn't like anything. Did you have anything of your own that was in there at the time?
I had like a little section, but I think initially into it of give people like me a space. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because when I graduated, that professor that I told you about, he told me not to use him as a reference at all. And if I did, he
Wow.
would not say nothing nice. That's how much he did not like me. Never
Wow.
understood. Yeah.
What the
So,
fuck?
and of course, this dude is like connected to every like ad agency here. Anything that has to do with St. Francis and design, if his name's not on it, they're not even gonna call you back. Like,
Wow.
so I was really like disheartened. Like, I think it bothered me more than I realized. I'm like, dang, I just sat through 4 years for what? And of
Yeah.
course, if I would come out to the Bay or somewhere like that, I could easily get a job. But
Yeah.
and I just wanted people who felt like that, or like felt like, man, I've been doing this for like 2, 3 years and I'm not getting nowhere, or like some people have the idea they just need other hands to work it in order for them to like be confident enough
That's
to like do
insane.
it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
at first it was gonna be just me. And I was like, this is a big ass area and I don't have enough work. So then Dustin was gonna put his work in. I was like, why don't we just ask our homies? And that's literally who it was. It was a whole bunch of our homies, and we needed like 2, 3 more people. So we like posted on our social media, like, hey, even if you just have one piece, two piece, like we just need to fill a couple more spots. And I had a lot of people that night like thank me for doing that because they're like, yo, I've been wanting to do something like this for a while, but I just never felt like my work. And so in the art community, sometimes I feel like people feel like there's a certain way to do things. I was that out of the box person at St. Francis. I think that's why my professor didn't like me. He was very clean cut, white edges, like everything has to have
White,
a rhyme or
literally,
reason.
probably white,
Yeah,
literally.
old ass white man. I'ma just say it. I can't stand him like old white man. But like literally, and I've had other professors tell me that he gets complaints because he still lives in the 90s, the way the design in the 90s and the early 2000s, where it was just like if you look at a Nike ad, the font was like
Yeah.
perfectly stacked and then the shoe was right under it. And
Yeah.
me, I remember I made I think the NWA movie had just came out and we had to do movie posters. So I did a movie poster at NWA
Yeah.
and he told me no, it wasn't a movie poster because he didn't even know who NWA was. And
That's
so like
crazy.
that I was like, dang, you're not
He
even going to take the time to like research them and be like, oh, this movie just came out. You know what I'm saying? So
he knew what NWA was. He just didn't like that shit. He
he
was
didn't like it. And
he was
it's
fully
so
against it.
crazy. Like the older, I guess, the more woke I become. Also, I'm just like, this is just like a really racist, like.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I've always been about people and
Hmm.
like how like I feel like that's kind of like part of my passion too. Is like I want to win, but I want to see everybody else win too. And I know
Yeah.
sometimes that does not happen, but like if I can go to sleep with a smile on my face, knowing like even though so and so didn't sell a piece. 2 weeks down the line, they got a call because they gave out their business card like, "Hey, I want you to do a family portrait," or "Hey, can you come do this X, Y, and Z?" So
Yeah.
I don't know. My dad's a people person. I'm a people person. Like it just
Yeah.
makes sense.
That's what's up. And also people that are listening to this, Kelsey hosted my premiere for my short film Black Rose Wanders last year,
Yeah.
which was such an awesome fucking experience. And I couldn't have done it without Kelsey. So like that was also just amazing, yo. Because like for myself, I can't imagine like I've always watched like those award shows, right? And then you
Hmm.
have like the main host, and then you have somebody who's like having to present the award that's gonna the award that's happening or whatever at that time. And I've even though I work in that industry where that stuff is, where those awards get given out to, or even just sometimes you have to work in the production of those things. I'm just
Yeah.
like, man, I couldn't imagine having to be like a Saturday Night Live host or some shit. Like, and I would say that like,
Hmm.
I'm somewhat extroverted, but I feel like I'm also introverted. And a lot of the times I'm just like, man, I'm just afraid of sounding stupid sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, being a
I
host is tough.
I definitely at Mac Day, I think I was kind of nervous. I'm never nervous until like it's time for me to get on stage, and then I'm like, oh crap! Like, what if I do
Yeah.
exactly what you said? And there was a couple of times I stumbled over my words, and I've learned like with the crowd is if you're a great host, the crowd is very understanding. So a lot of times my cop out is let me get my words together, or
Hmm.
let me start that over. Like just try to make it
Yeah.
like you know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I don't ever prepare. I literally do not prepare for anything. Not, I probably shouldn't say that, but like literally with like shoots,
That's funny.
the most that you'll get from me is, hey, give me your idea. Let me make a Pinterest board or inspiration board for you. So you know my vibe. I know
Yeah,
some
yeah.
people draw out the way that they want to shoot and stuff. I just be like, let's just do
Let's
it.
just get into it. That's
Hmm.
funny, yo. That's hilarious. But yo, yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I feel you. Sometimes when you get, especially when it for me, what it is like when you have to get out there and be in front of like actual live human beings, that's when shit starts to get a little weird, right? Because it's like,
Yeah.
damn, these people are right here in front of me. Like this could go really well or could go really bad. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
why I like look at comedians and I'm like, yo, they have a very, very tough job. Because you imagine having to be funny in front of somebody, like a bunch of people.
Man.
And
And I feel like
either you offend somebody or whatever, it shit can be tough, yo.
and I feel like you can't. I don't. If I host in like bars and stuff, if someone buys me a drink, I'll drink. You know, I'll drink, but I just can't get up there trash. Like I
Oh
can't
yeah.
smoke before I get up there. And I've seen some documentaries. Like I know Dave Chappelle be fried up there.
Yeah.
Like but like he's been
Yeah.
doing it for so long, and that's kind of in his like his whole thing of being a comedian is like I don't know. It's it's just
It's
the energy.
crazy.
It's the energy.
It's
Yeah,
It's
that's
funny
what
that
helps
you
me.
mentioned that too, because like I just heard a story. There's this movie that just got shot out in here in Oakland, called Freaky Tales. And Freaky Tales is the name of a Too Short song. And I won't I won't give away too much about this particular person who was in this role and who he was playing as, just because the movie's just wrapped up not too long ago. But like there was this kind of well-known up-and-coming rapper from out in the Bay that was playing another well-known rapper who people know about from the Bay. And apparently when he got up there to perform, like he was doing well in the rehearsals and stuff, but then when he got up there to actually start performing, apparently he had drank a whole bunch and he was just fucking up a bunch. I'm just like the
Niggas, man.
preparation. Yeah, I'm like the preparation, some I don't know, that'd be a lot to it. But first and foremost though, with I think what is so amazing about you, especially compared to a lot of other creatives I know, like in the same vein back home, is that you just have a very uniqueness to it. You have a certain style that is much more refined and much more like beautiful than some of that like extra kind of glamorized, like if we're talking photos in terms of just like the super saturated, super glossy image of a lot of things.
Yeah,
And I really like how yours just feels. It feels almost like what you would see when you see like someone taking a photo on film, or like a
yeah.
video on film, something like that. It just has so much more of a real a rawness to it that is very beautiful. And for
Thank
you with
you.
like the uniqueness of the stuff that you've done with this film hosting and just doing the art shows, like how did you build up a style for yourself, for those particular things? Like was there somebody that you learned from? Was there like piece of art already out there that you kind of like took an inspiration from, or did you kind of just kind of go through it, go through the process and just like kind of make it yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. When I told you like we did like the dark room and stuff like that at St. Francis, and then we moved to digital, I really love the film aspect of it, but I also knew we don't have no dark rooms around here and it's just really expensive for film. So I'm like, dang, how can I get that in like digital form? So it was a lot of the presets I used, a lot of presets that I just created.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then there's this guy, he used to design for Rock Nation, which honestly I actually talked to him. I had like a friendship with him for a little bit, and I think he just got like busy, which is totally fine because like he designed for like Meek Mill and like Jay-Z. Like it was really crazy. His name is Chaz Morgan, and he's all black on Instagram. It's like black without the A. And I actually reached out to him on like some like wishing a prayer type thing because we had to do a presentation on our favorite designer. And I was like, I know I just know him on Instagram, but like I'm gonna reach out to him and be like, hey, I'm doing this project on you. And he actually emailed me back and like gave me his phone number and it was like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
like we can like FaceTime. And he basically let me interview him and he was just like, you're like a breath of fresh air. Like because you remind
Yeah.
me of myself because I know how it feels to like be that odd person out. And like now I'm just making the best of my situation. And his style of design is a lot of that like I don't even want to say muted. It's very film-esque with a lot of heavy grain, contrasty, shadowy, you know what I'm saying? He pushes his blacks, his whites. So I think with a combination of that, of going to school, talking to Chaz, and then just being on like Instagram and just like scrolling and like seeing stuff and being like, how can I get that to look like that? There's a couple of like there's this girl, she goes by Rolex. She shoots like Summer Walker.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know who
if
that
you
is.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
I love her work. Um, there's this other guy, his name is I think it's like Youngin with the Cannon or something like that. He has that like
Mhm.
film-esque like
Yeah.
also. So um I think a lot of it, I spend a lot of time on social media, but it's more of like trying to like research and like see what the thing is now. And I'm actually
Yeah.
really like grateful that you said that like you find my style beautiful because I have been finding myself like lately like I know I'm really good, but you also still kind of have that uncertainty of like you lose a couple clients and they go to the competition and you're like, well, why?
Crazy.
And so like I even thought of like maybe, offering that, but then I was like, nah, because there's a reason why they're coming to me and there's a reason why they're going to them. So
Hmm.
I think that to answer your question, that's Instagram is a big thing for me. I'm also trying to like join more groups, like more photography clubs, um, just to like show my style and like
Hmm.
expand it also because
Yeah.
I always feel like I can keep going up. So eventually I want to get into actual film.
Yeah.
But right
Yeah.
now it's just makeshifting it until we could
Right.
get to what I'm
Yeah.
trying to get. So
No, I feel you about the whole, just sometimes that uncertainty. Like that definitely happens to me as well. It happens to I think every artist. There's like a bit of
mm.
uncertainty of like if people really like fuck with the work that we have and the
Yeah.
stuff that we do. And I think in general, I mean, for me, what I think it is I look at it like this. I try to always like not reinstate. I don't even know if that's the right word, but I always just try to like consistently review like my work. I try to look back at
Mm-hmm.
things that I've done like as much as I can. I remember right around the 5 year mark of SW Films, I went ahead and looked at every single damn thing that I had ever like shot that was on my master hard drive on my desktop. And I was just like looking at all these things and I'm like, damn, like my work has definitely stepped up, not just from like some of the different things I would do in the editing, but also just like
Yeah.
the camera I had at the time, as well as just maybe different narratives that I would put in there for the clients or for my own personal things or just whatever it was. I knew that there was like there was a I was growing in a certain aspect, and the competition, quote unquote, like, I think that I try not to really worry about them too much. You know what I mean? I see what people are doing out there, but
Yeah.
I realize that none of that shit is as good as mine, or and I also just know where specifically I'm at in the industry, so I don't really fret too much. But also those clients that you might lose, they're just not the
Hmm.
right clients for that time, and we're
Yep.
definitely going to be talking a lot about just in terms of just having to deal with clients and all the kind of stuff they have to deal with that, because that can also be tough, especially when you're doing uh art like ours, photography and
Yeah.
video. I think a lot of people still don't know how to aim at our direction a whole lot. What about with the art shows, in terms like with the art shows and just hosting in general as well? Like, have you found, I guess, a certain kind of style or uniqueness or a certain kind of vibe that you usually want to bring to every single one of those types of events? Are you still kind of building that up?
So I would like to call my art shows. I don't want to say a showcase. I don't want to say a party, but like my art shows usually are just like a real like laid back, like comfortable vibe. Like you don't need to dress up. Um, and I usually just let the artist hang the way that they want to hang. Like it's very organic. I'm literally just
Mhm.
providing the space and how much space you have. I haven't done any like themed art shows. Like I know a lot of places here in town are like, we only want moms or we only want, you know,
Mhm.
the ages of this and this. Like I've literally had a 7-year-old in my art show and I've literally had like a 65-year-old in one of my art shows. So
Yeah.
like, and they both did beautiful work. So I don't like the thought of like restricting
Hmm.
because art is art. You know what I'm saying? And then I try to cater to all types of art, not just like photography, like stuff that you hang on the wall. So I do try to have at least up to like 4 performers of the same of like maybe a rapper, a singer, a poet, and then somebody who like it's hard for me to find a dancer, but like something of that nature so that every form of art or as many forms of art can be touched on. So like
Yeah.
um I have a DJ because we're not gonna have no like sad, depressing music. Like we're gonna have like, it's always all ages. I don't ever charge for my art shows. But I mean I have like a donation jar and people are very generous, you know what I'm saying? But I'm for the people. So like there shouldn't be no reason why you feel like you can't come. If it's money, if I feel like I just don't look the part, no. Like you just come, see the work. And it's a networking opportunity too, because
Yeah.
um I don't take any other profits. If you sell something, sell it for your price. I'm not taking no cut from it. I don't even have the artist charge to be a part of it. So the whole goal of my shows is for the artists to make money and network. That's the whole point of it. And usually we set up either the night before or even the morning of, and we tear down the same night or the day after.
Hmm.
I've never had art show stay up longer than like a weekend. Um, so that's kind of the style. I always try to have alcohol, food. I did have like a bartender one year, but that was just like real weird with buying a liquor license, and I was
Oh yeah. That's a whole
like,
that's a whole
um,
process, yeah.
man, I learned that one year. I spent a lot of money for no reason. And I could have just been like, here's a bottle of wine or a glass of wine. We can do wine and beer. We can't do nothing harder than that.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the way that I plan them and put them together, and then excuse me, before I when I was super consistent on my art shows, they used to be called the pop up. So we literally will pop
Mm.
up anywhere. I've popped up in a vacant building before. I've popped up in a house before. I've popped up in somebody else's studio before. Um, and COVID kind of like killed that after a
Mm.
while. So I haven't really hosted like an actual art show like that in a while. The last art show I did host It was my solo show. And that
Yeah,
had
yeah.
the same vibe. That had the same vibe, except it was just all my work. And that was actually really hard because I think I put myself in the artist's shoes this time of like, are these people gonna like it? You know what I'm saying? They see
Mm.
it on Instagram, but like I was putting work out there that people had never seen before.
Yeah, yeah.
So um I got like an overwhelming response on that one, which was like really
Absolutely.
nice. Which was really nice. Now people are asking me to do another one. So
I think
I don't know
so.
if we're
And
going to talk about our upcoming events or whatever, but I got something in the pot right now
yeah, yeah. No, for
for
sure.
the spring summertime.
I really wish I could have went to that because like I remember you told me that, and I think around that time, I was like, "Yo, I want to try to get you on the podcast like after you had your event, like
Yeah.
right after you had it to be able to help promote, just what that became and what that was, and that I think that's cool, and I think just that in general. I mean, I don't know if you would agree, and I don't even know because I wasn't even there, but like
Yeah.
simply the fact of the matter is that event being like your art show, it's your work, it's you being like the center of attention. I mean, I don't know if you would think that would be like your best art show that you've had, but I'm sure that's
Yeah.
probably the one that you put in probably maybe the most work in just because like that's like you said that's stuff that no one had ever seen before and you're like we're creating like a bunch of different things or like a story in a sense that was going to be
Hmm.
showcased there and I'm sure that had to be super rewarding compared to a lot of the other like event like the art shows that you had prior to that.
It definitely was. I'm definitely harder on myself too. Um, so I spent like the whole day before setting up for that. Emily was super nice that owns Paw Paw House. She has like a little Airbnb on the side of it. It's
Mm,
like a studio one, so she let me stay in that for the weekend. And
mm-hmm.
I literally was up at 1 o'clock looking at it like, does that look crooked? Does that frame look crooked? But yeah, it definitely was
Yeah,
rewarding. And I think it definitely made me realize because I'm like J. Cole humble. Like
yeah,
I that's why I be having the spotlight on other people because I'm like, hey, I really feel like that's what I was placed on the earth to do was help. So when people be like, oh my gosh, I'll be like, thank you so much. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was just really different to have like people come up and just be like, yo, your work is amazing. And it kind of gave me a little bit a confident booster, a little bit too, because it's like, okay, I am doing something,
Yeah.
so
That's dope. That is super dope. And I think I'm excited to hear more about what you're going to be able to do in the future with that. You know what I mean? Because I think that in itself is already just a huge, it's one of those things that can just create so much more opportunities for you. You know what I mean? And I
yeah.
think that's just something that I know myself and probably a lot of others are definitely super excited about. Um, Breaking off back more into the beginning of OGKillaKels. And
Yeah.
how did you get where did that name come from? And you've told me this story, but
Yeah.
how did you get that name, OGKillaKels? And what is the importance of it being like the brand, the name behind your brand, and what made you want to choose that?
So I'm like, as you know, I'm like a big music head. Like since I was like 2, 3. Like my dad would put headphones on my mom's stomach. Like I really felt like my parents was like a really big key on why like I love music and the culture itself. Um, so I be in class like snaking my headphones up through my shoulder, like listening to and I was really into like Tribe Called Quest, De La
Mm-hmm.
Soul, like that type of rap. Lupe Fiasco, Mickey Fax, like all of that. I think like the Cool was out at that time or whatever, and I was just minding my business, and I'm not even gonna lie, I was a nerd, so I got picked on a little bit in high school. So this dude snatched my iPod out and looked at the song. And he was like, "You're listening to Anita Baker. Who's Anita Baker?" I remember just getting so fired up. Like, you don't know who Anita Baker is. Like, where's your mom? What like yada yada. And so
Yeah.
like kids like they just started calling me OG.
Yeah.
Like you listen to old stuff like Tribe. Like we was just born when this came out. I think this was back when like Lil Wayne and like uh I don't even know who else. Nicki Minaj, Drake, what like Young Money, Prime, like those type of
Hmm.
rappers. So they started calling me OG, and then the Killer part was kind of just like Killer Cam, like trying to tap into that, and then Kelsey. Of course, my name is Kelsey. So like it being my name, it just stuck. Everybody just called me OG,
Yeah,
OG,
yeah,
and at first it was just so annoying because it was rooted from a joke. So like I'm like, are you guys gonna freaking get over it? Like, yes, I
yeah,
listen to
yeah,
old school. Like, and then I started like my mom was like, well, why don't that actually is like catchy? Like OG KillaKels, like you have a nickname, like people call you OG. Like she was like, I don't think you realize how like key that can be for you.
hmm,
And so I was doing my senior internship with my mentor, Jason Swisher, and he loves music too. Like we just be in his office, just like listening to beat tapes, or like he's like a big Tribe fan. So we would just like listen. And I was telling him, I was like, I have to do a website for my end of the year like project. And I was like, everybody's doing like you know Kelsey Martin photography or Kelsey Martin design, and I was like, that just don't feel like that's not me. And he was like, why don't you just call it OG KillaKels? I was like, I'm not gonna get hired with a website called OG
them white
KillaKels.
people are gonna be very scared of you.
And that's literally what he said. He was like,
Uh,
he always apologized for like he never talked ill about black people because he loves black people. But I think just the conversation of like having to use the word black people was just like, a little too
yeah,
close to the line. But he was like, he literally said, don't give a shit about the white folks. Like,
yeah,
you know, he was like, you're in a different lane. And so he gave me the confidence because I was like, this is $19. $19 was a lot for me in college. I'm like, this is $19 a month. And so I just went with OG KillaKels,
hmm,
and it's just stuck. And I don't know if I've ever talked to you about it, but there's been times where I just wanted to just drop like the KillaKels and just go with OG because I feel like because it was rooted in high school and I'm almost in my 30s, it's kind of like a little
right.
not even childlike, but it's not. You know, I'm 30, you calling me OG KillaKels, like, but at the same time, people
All right,
call me
that I
OG
mean,
anyways.
like 50
You
Cent
know,
is almost what 50 Cent's probably close to his 50s. He 50 Cent.
you know what
I
I'm
don't know.
saying? Like,
I get what you're saying. I think there could
yeah,
be another chapter into it, right? Like that
yeah,
other
it's
chapter of being it first was OG KillaKels and then it's OG, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think, for your brand, I feel like if that's something that you'd want to do, I feel like that'd be totally acceptable and understandable as well, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean, did you ever encounter anything like that when you worked with certain kind of clients where they're like, Killer Kels? Like, have you had to deal with that where it's like there's a little bit of a hesitance because of the name or anything of the sort?
no, because all of the people that I've worked with, they kind of chuckle at it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
actually like pretty dope. And I did have this lady, I actually met her. She actually did design for a law firm here in
Mm,
town. And I met
okay.
her through Big V. I used to make her coffee. She was just like, your dad told me you designed, and I just really need somebody to just like prep the files for me, and then I'll do the rest. And I'll pay you like $150 for each one. I'm like, heck yeah, like let's do it. Super easy. Like prepping a file takes 5 minutes. And they asked, the law firm asked, like, who's helping you out? And she said, Kelsey Martin. And she sent like my Instagram and stuff. And it was OGKillaKels. The website was OGKillaKels. And she said, they were kind of perplexed a little bit because I told like they wanted pictures done and I sent it to them, and she was like, don't think they're gonna go with you, but they said they liked your name. And I was just like, hey, I mean, if a law firm is like at least considered me taking pictures, and it's pretty big
Yeah.
here in town, I used to care a lot. I just don't care no more because
Hmm.
I think I'm so what's the word? I've betted on myself so much from when I first did that art show. Like I'm such a grassroots person that like this is just what it is, and you're gonna come to me if you like it, and if you're not gonna come to me because you don't like it, then it ain't hurting me because I know it's gonna come regardless. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, I think definitely sometimes the name, like I don't know. I think it just depends. Maybe it's just the client, right? Sometimes you get
Yeah,
those certain kind of people where they're like, I don't know how I feel about the name, and I don't think the names of it don't doesn't matter, especially if there's always a story within the name, right?
exactly,
And
exactly.
I think that's the importance. I think if there's a story that you shared, but also just other internal things that go within the meaning and story for OGKillaKels. I think that's perfectly fine, and people just got to realize like, hey, it don't matter the name, like the work,
It's what it
the
is.
impact, the pressure. It's all there just from what you're able to do. Um, it's crazy. We talked a lot about. Well, we talked earlier about just about kind of how you got into your craft and stuff like that, and the different things that inspired you and pushed you into that realm. And that's kind of one of the questions I had, but I really want to kind of mix that question up a little bit and just to ask more of like what pushes you. Well, first of all, two questions. First question
Mm-hmm.
is, when you started doing photography right out of college or just right out of after that time and just kind of figuring out what you were going to do after college from graduating and everything like that, like what pushed you to be like, okay, I'm going to do this particular thing and I'm going to start charging money for it. I'm going to start working on getting compensated for this work that I'm doing, right? Like,
Yeah.
what was it that made you make that decision? But also, when was it specifically that made you do that decision of like, okay, this is what I'm going to do to make money?
So I had a client. This was when I first started. I think first started in 2016, but like I didn't really start taking it seriously until like the end of 2017, right after I graduated. And I had a client. She was a good friend of mine, and she wanted to do this women empowerment shoot. And I'm like, okay. She's sending me pictures. Now these pictures only had like 3 to 4 people in them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, you know what? This is gonna help build my portfolio. This is for a good cause. You know what I'm saying? Let's just do it. So um I show up and it's like 10 females there. And
Party.
I'm like, yo, and I'm just sitting here like, I should have charged. So, you know what? That's not really the moment that I figured it out. I did the shoot. She wanted to go up on the rooftop of one of the garages here, and nosy white people called the police on us, said that we
Yeah.
were a distraction to the traffic down there, could cause accidents. So come down. It was a whole bunch. It was because we were off. You already know why.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Um, yeah, so
Crazy.
like we kind of had to just like pull it out of our butts, kind of, and I kind of just took over the shoot. Um, so that it wasn't even the time because like I had a great time. Amber Rose had her slut walk. That's back when she used to do her walks. And so she was
Mm-hmm.
calling for artists to submit work for like women empowerment. So I text her, I'm like, hey, Amber Rose has this really great like um opportunity. I think like can I use one of the photos for it? And she's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead, whatever. So I submit the picture on like not even think it would get picked and it got chosen as one of them to be like
Yeah.
in the gallery in LA.
Yeah.
So I don't even I guess in my mind because I took the picture it was my work,
Yeah. Yeah.
but Shorty got upset
Mm-hmm.
because one I didn't tell her that it got accepted. She found out on Instagram, which okay, communication I probably could have been like, "Hey girl, this picture like our picture got accepted." And the
Mm-hmm.
crazy thing is I credited her. Like when I paid the money to get it printed. I bought
Yeah.
an expensive ass frame. On the title, I put, shot by OGKillaKels, but like directed, styled, put together by she
Mm-hmm.
got all the credit. I just took the
Yeah.
shot and edited it. And she made this big deal on social media about it.
Wow.
Really was irritated by it. One, because I was just starting off and I'm like, dang, like, and she was pretty well known. So like I was just like really irritated by that. And I'm not even gonna lie out, I like cried about because that was like my first like I feel like I was being accused of stealing something that I did.
Mm.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like you brought the people together, you did all of that, which is cool, but like after our location got shut down, like you went blank. So like
Right.
I had to I had to take it over. I was trying to,
Hmm.
help your project. So I think with that lesson, I had to talk with my mom has been also a big key in me becoming OGKillaKels. Because I lived with her and she would see me come home stressed and stuff. And she basically was like, "How much did you charge her?" I said I didn't charge her anything. She was like, "And you paid?" Like I spent probably like $200 between shipping, frame, and printing.
Man.
She was like, you have to educate one because she probably didn't know that you did all of that, and two, you probably should have charged her because if you would have
Yeah.
charged her, she would have a right to feel that way. Like I'm not even saying she doesn't have a right to feel that way because yeah, you probably could have communicated, "Hey, girl, this guy," before she found out on social media,
Hmm.
but like that's your work. You took the
Right.
shot, you arranged the shot, you put the shot together, you then did post work on the shot, you printed, you even found the opportunity. That's your
Hmm.
work. So ever since I had that conversation with my mom, I didn't start charging like super crazy. It was like $50 a shoot, then $75. Then I started doing deals like, okay, $100 for 30 minutes, 125 for an hour, and now it's like 250 for an hour and like
Hmm.
175 for half an hour. So
Hmm.
I think I had to bump my head a little bit to realize like you can't be nice all the
You
time.
can't be
You
nice. And
can't be
see,
nice all the
like
time.
that situation is very interesting, because I feel like I want to say I had a similar kind of situation like that. Like there was a moment where I did photography myself, and
Mm-hmm.
especially right when I got out of college, I did a lot of photography. I was doing a lot of photos, taking photos of like portraits and just kind of some candid things every now and then. I even like took photos for certain events. But then my big reason of me leaving photography was mainly I just didn't like editing photos. Like I didn't.
Yeah,
It was very tedious to me because when the difference between like video, like filming and photography, the difference between the editing of that is like there's when I'm there, like I'll have a certain amount of clips for a project and I have to watch every single clip, every single workable clip, nothing that's like a false take or something crazy like that. But with photos, I would shoot kind of, on a fast shutter. So it depends on what the hell I'm doing, but I usually would like to just get stuff quick, but there'd be like hella photos for me to have to go over and then I have to really
yes.
sift through what looks the best.
Yes.
And I would sometimes do that with clients in the room. They would come over to my office at the time back home and look at stuff. And this shit was so tedious to me. But I did have a situation like that too, where I did a photo shoot with a model. Well, I don't even know if she's a model now, but someone who's kind of like in the fitness realm at the time, who was also used to be a friend of mine. But I think it was just like the fact of I posted one of the photos one time on my page, and I think they were mad that I posted it just on my page. And I don't think there was even like a prior like, hey, like don't post this shit at all, like type of thing. And then yeah, we kind of had a falling out because of that. But it's interesting, yeah, because like usually like photography, like this, especially photography, right? I feel
Yeah.
like well, just the arts in general, but I think photography gets it. I think photography is in a weird spectrum to where it's in a very weird gray scale, but it's also in a almost easier scale of like where companies or clients they know that they need some sort of photos or some sort of photography, whether it's for a certain product or a service or an event or whatever it might be, right? Or headshots for the CEOs or whoever's all in their business. But sometimes they just don't understand the value of those particular things.
Yeah.
They don't understand the value of that. But at the same time, photography is also somewhat more common nowadays to where, businesses realize they need to have some photos of something. Of course, you can easily take a photo off of your phone and there you go. Like it's that, right? But then when you're
Yeah.
thinking about, professional photography, professional headshots, sometimes they don't understand and see the value. Like a perfect example, there's this YouTuber I watch. Her name is Shelby Church, and she like had a video about an Airbnb that she was doing in Malibu or something, and she was talking about how the Airbnb wasn't performing well, and she thinks it was because of the photos that she took and had on the site. And then she hired like an actual like real estate photographer to come through and get professional photos of the Airbnb, and there was like a huge difference between what she had compared to what the real estate photographer had.
Yeah.
But the value, like, it's a weird thing to me how people don't value that. But I think it's specifically, especially when you're dealing with like individuals, right? And they may have an idea for like something that you mentioned, like the woman empowerment thing, or just like just random shots that they want to have, like shots that they want to have for Facebook. Which also that shit annoys me, right? When they say, "Oh, I just want some cool photos to post on Facebook."
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I don't like, if I was a photographer, I would deny that. Like, oh, you want to post this just on Facebook just to have it as a new whatever profile picture. Like, that shit to me is like so stupid. You know what I mean? I'm thinking of it like this, like my intention in doing a project for a client, it's very clear. I'm obviously trying to build more with my resume. I'm also trying to gain profit from that, but I'm also just there's also I try to find a little bit of passion with whatever it may be, just so just so I can be able to add my 2 cents, or just to be able to like film something and give something to a client and it helps them. But if it's like, but I also look for the intention from the client too. Like, what is their intention with this particular thing that they want me to do for them? And if it's just some stupid shit, like, then I kind of just leave that to someone who will deal with the stupid shit. You
Man,
know?
I always ask, like, what are you using these pictures for? That's literally as soon as they walk in the door. Actually, no,
Yeah.
not even when they walk in the door, like when you're booking with me. And
Yeah.
I'll do those shoots. That's to be a 20-minute shoot. You finna get 10 pictures and that's it. I'm not finna, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like,
Yeah.
as with video, for me, it takes hours. And I used to be able to just edit in like a couple of hours, but I got a 2-year-old now. I can't touch my computer till he's asleep. Trust me, I've tried editing, distracting him everything. I cannot do no work while
Yeah.
he is around. And so now I tell people give me 7 to 10 days, excuse me, instead of like a
Mm-hmm.
couple of days. So like just to take time out to do that, just for you to get like some likes. I don't equivalent my work with likes. I could get 2 likes
Yeah.
on a picture, but then I could have got paid like 2 bands off of it for a client. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just funny that you said that, because I
It's
always laugh
yeah.
at that.
Yeah. And it's just, also
Or
too,
for
it's just
content, we're using it for content. I'm like, okay,
right.
what content for what business?
Exactly. But also it's just, to me, it's just like, there's also those things of sometimes where you sometimes may accidentally attract the same sort of type of clients, right? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I think there was a moment where I kind of had that in my career where I was attracting the same kind of clients, and specifically like the rappers at the time. And I think a lot of them were, of course, my friends and stuff like that, people who I really believed in to get, to to do whatever they, were trying to do, with music and whatnot. But sometimes you just see certain clients just not work. You see it within the communication, and you
yeah,
have to
oh
just
yeah,
move on from that. And yeah, I always just look for the intent, but also sometimes I try to bring up the reward, the potential reward for a client that they may not understand too. You know what I mean? In terms of just like, for instance, I look at a lot of businesses in my hometown, Angola, but also even in Fort Wayne, where a lot of these businesses do not market what, like, at all.
no,
Like they don't market through social media. They're not writing out posts about certain things. They're not having a lot of
no,
photos about some of their products or services. They're not doing any sort of video content, any sort of commercials, even TikToks, none of that shit. They're not doing a lot
yeah,
of that or any of that. And it's just like, I think in time, sometimes there's a moment where if you have that moment to just speak to that potential client or that locked in client and just try to help them, to, like your mother said, educate,
yeah,
of what the potential is of this particular product that we are able to do or that we have done. And I think for that person that you mentioned in your story is just like, yeah, you posted it, but that's like huge potential for what the actual post was and what specific platform it landed at. And did that
yeah.
ever, with that particular picture and that stuff, everything that you sent out there or whatever, like did that have like some sort of impact? Did you see anything else from that, or was that just like one of those things that you think that kind of just maybe helped grow a little bit in that particular part in LA?
I think it was just like I didn't really get anything from it. I didn't really get any followers, anything like that. Amber Rose's team never like reached back out to be like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, she loved this. She wants to, but like they didn't take any pictures. I also think that it was, I don't think she does them anymore, but I don't, from what I would see, it was a poorly planned event. So like they didn't have, for me, I would have taken pictures of everything. I didn't even see my picture up on anything. So I feel like it was more of like a growing, um, it was just like the jump start of me getting bigger and getting, I guess, submitting my work
Yeah.
because I was so used to doing it in school that I was already tapped into that where like I gotta go buy a frame, I gotta mat it, I gotta make sure it's ready to hang, I gotta, they sent me dimensions and all this other stuff where the average photographer who never did that before would be like, well, what the heck is this? Um, so I think it was a good opportunity to put my degree in at into use, and it's just something to put on my CV or my resume of just
Hmm.
I show my work at Amber Rose's slut walk in
That's it. That's
LA.
think it's yeah. That's
Which
good
I
for the
think
resume.
now nowadays people will be more accepting of that than before. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it was a learning opportunity. I also probably won't spend money like that on one picture if I know I'm not getting anything back in return.
Yeah.
But I was like
That
literally
pay to
like
play
20
is
at the
the
time.
yeah, it's like
Yeah, I
those
was literally
risks you gotta
20 at the
take.
time. But
Hmm.
yeah,
That's what's up. That's what's up. I think we all have those moments where we have to like take a time just to like learn and kind of I don't want to say cut the chops a little bit, you know.
yeah,
You
take your
know,
L. I mean, it's not really even an L. It's just like, okay, won't do
it
that
was a
again.
lesson. It was a lesson.
Yeah, it was yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
It was a lesson, you know, and I think it helps. It's good because that made you realize like, okay, this is I need to start charging for this, and this is like the moment to where I start turning this shit up and I can make believe yourself that you can make money from it. I'm pretty sure at that time too, um, I'm sure at that time in yourself, like you were already kind of like, taking different photos and like kind of building up your
Mhm.
skill in your free time. So then you kind of realize in that moment as well, like, yo, I've been doing this for a little while. I feel pretty good about some of the stuff I've done. That moment that it got into the slut walk, the fact that it was in there, like kind of give you that confidence to be like, you know what? I know that people will buy to have my services. You know what I mean? I think that's one of
Yep.
those things that built up. So that's super dope. This
Okay.
question is important because we've talked a lot about, or definitely we've talked a lot about just your time being a mother, right? And just how
Yeah.
much that has
Yeah.
played hugely in your life and especially in like the creative world. I know that you've also kind of been able to like pull that close into the creative world, but how has motherhood like challenged your creativity, do you feel like?
Um, I have so my son has sickle cell anemia, which causes him to be sickly a lot. So one in general, just having a child makes you sit down. I don't care what nobody says. I still do this. There's no way that you can be uh tentative to um sorry, my dad's calling me. Of course I would get a call while we're recording. There's no way to be like tentative to your child and still be on the go all the time. Um so with him having sickle cell and like just being a single mom, like a lot of my inspiration is shot sometimes because I'm tired. Or like, you work your 9 to 5, then you gotta come home and take care of a child, and then whatever's left over is what I have to give to my work. So I think that it's not even I had to miss out on opportunities. It's like when there's an opportunity presented to me, I'm like, okay, do I really have the space and the time to do this? Can I give 100% to this and
Mm-hmm.
still run my day to day at home? Which I have a village, a great village of. I just called my cousin yesterday. I was like, "Hey, I'm about to be on this podcast. Can you grab August? Because if she couldn't, then you'd be seeing August tearing up and coming over and grabbing my hand every 5 minutes to change his YouTube video, or he wants a freaking Nutri-Grain bar or something like that. Like,
Change the
or he wants to
YouTube
get in the
video.
tub. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, yeah.
like, and he's in his terrible twos right now. So that's just like really tough of like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to show you I love you, son, but I'm also not trying to grab you up and shake you and be like, shut up, you know? So I'm a
Yeah.
big energy person. And when I'm tired and stuff like that, I think it's taught me how to say it's okay to say no. Um, it also has taught me I cannot be on the go like I used to. I think shooting for you was the very first time I took a bigger project, like being away from him for like 2 days. And I didn't let nobody knows, but I was like,
Hmm.
what the fuck? Like my child is 8 months. This is probably my first time being away from him. I'm like texting his dad on the side, like, did you change him? Did you feed him? Did you do this? Did you do that?
Yeah.
Stuff that I wouldn't even I would be out until 2 a.m. and then come home, get up at 6 and go to work. So or like go do a shoot, you know,
Yeah.
so it's challenging because I've had to, and this is all about parenthood. You're no longer first. Like your child is first.
Yeah. Yep.
So, you know, like that's part of the reason why I haven't done a lot of art shows is I just don't have the capacity or the energy or the money, you know, because now all of my money is going towards okay, August has everything he needs and I have everything to survive. Do I have extra funds to buy a new lens, to do this, to do that? So I think that's the challenging thing is and I'm gonna be transparent, just not being able to be selfish in that realm anymore. Not being able to
Yeah.
go out and do a crazy purchase of a freaking $1,500 lens. Now I'm trying to figure out how to pay rent for the next 2 months, especially
Yeah.
if things are slow. So I think that that's the challenging part because I can fully bet on myself creatively, but like bet on myself as I want to do photography full time. It's real shaky. I would have to have like a job that I know I'm getting a check from
Yeah.
in order to sustain. So hopefully that
Right.
answered your question.
No, absolutely. That was great. And I think, I mean, yeah, I think the biggest blessing, right, would probably be just to have that village of supporters, that family and friends close by you that to help you out. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I hope that that has been like, one of those kind of like refreshers and like reminders that, when things get tough, is like you do have supporters around you, people to help you, people to just also be there to educate, on certain things that like maybe you're not aware of in terms of just like everything that like just maybe just in the terms of just trying to figure out how to streamline, keep things going in terms of
Yeah.
like your life creatively, but I mean, has that time being like a single mother and just like having to deal with his specific situation, like has that been able
Mm-hmm.
to inspire you per se? Like has that have you found a bit of inspiration from that, like even on the days that you're tired, right? Like
Yeah.
is there something that you've experienced or witnessed with August that has like inspired you to take on a new feat in terms of your creativity or a new project or a new story or anything like that?
I was in this art show. It was a group of moms. Um and we basically was trying to explain child like basically what we're talking about how to be a mom and still have the capacity to be an artist also. Um and I think a lot of the moms that did that project found joy in their kids and their art. And so that was like my first time ever doing like a project that was like based around August. And his August loves water. Like I will give him a bath, and then literally like 20 minutes later, he will ask to get back in the tub. Like, so I documented bath time for 2 weeks. Um, and I don't know. I was nervous to do it because I've never done like a documentary like style shoot before. So like just capturing those moments, and I was trying to like light it real well and like get him to pose, and I was just like, I'm just gonna just take pictures, like just shoot him. Every time you laugh, I'm gonna take a picture. Every time you get frustrated because I won't give you something in the tub, like stuff like that. And so like when I finished them, I was like, he's so like photogenic and like he was just like so curious. And I think that made me like be like, I need to keep doing this one because I may be like pouring into my child because I still am like, what is he going to be when he gets older? And I know it has to be some type of artistic thing because his mom and his dad are both. I'm artistic and his.
All right, there's a weird little cut in the audio, guys, thanks to Zoom.
Gotta love it.
No, that is beautiful. I know you were just talking about how, using bath time as an inspiration for a project that you once did with August.
Yeah.
I guess you can continue on maybe on where you left off from there.
Yeah, I think I basically was just like summing up like, I think you had asked me like, how does
Like
like
how, yeah,
being a
how is
mom
the motherhood,
inspired.
yeah, challenge your creativity and also, but specifically inspired, um, you know, you in terms of like projects or in terms of, certain things like that.
Um, I also want to create work that August is going to be proud of.
Mm,
I guess also because I know like the internet is forever
yeah.
and I want to not only like build a foundation for him to just be like, hey, son, if you want to, I don't even, now it may hurt me a little bit that he's not artistic, but if he does decide to go to that realm, like, I'm just so ready to give him all of the knowledge that I have. So that way, like, when he first goes into it, like, you still got to bump your head, but like, hey, I got a little bit more guidance from you than like what my mom and my dad gave me because they aren't artsy people. You know, they are just, I love it because it's my daughter. And I want August to know that, like, I love it because you are my son, but I also, like, want you to succeed in this. And so, therefore, I'm going to do my best so that way when it's your time, I can kind of give you the steps and you take
Mm-hmm.
with it what you want. So, I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that every project that I take, think about August. So like, would this
yeah.
be something that like I want to show my child? There's been projects that I refuse to do because I'm like, one, I don't shoot stuff like that. Two, probably ghetto or like a little bit too risque for my taste. Or like three, do I want my child to see my name next to that? You know what I'm
Right, right,
saying?
right.
And I think that's what some celebrities, Kanye West, doesn't realize that
Yeah.
your kids, whatever you post on social media, your kids are going to be able to find, especially if you're at some type of caliber in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I always look at Rihanna as a blueprint, especially now since she has a child. It's like, all right, I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize how my child eats. And if
Yeah.
that means I'm not giving y'all another album and I'm just about to have 65 million businesses, let's go.
I feel it. Even though I feel like she's coming back out with some music this year. And I've kind of heard through the grapevine of some
Yeah.
people I know that have apparently worked with her. It's a possibility. But
Yeah.
and she's at the Super Bowl. That's like on this
Man,
Sunday
you
as I'm
got,
as
how can you not? How can you not
yeah.
have anything? Even Beyonce would have something afterwards. Like,
Yeah. Like it's
I'm
it's
hoping.
something's coming. I mean, she's definitely been slowly
Yeah.
making her visibility back present, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um to switch gears first and foremost, I know one thing that me and you talk a lot about
hmm
is we talk a lot about just the market and the environment that we are in. And I don't live in Fort Wayne anymore, but I've never lived in Fort Wayne, but I was born in Fort Wayne, got a bunch of family there, and most of my clients came from Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
And even still to this day, as I as I'm in this particular transition in SW films, still some of my clients have been a lot from home. So we talk a lot about Fort Wayne, is basically what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. We talk a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
about Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
And Fort Wayne has such amount of like talent and creativity, and there's a lot of interest in Fort Wayne. Fort Wayne has and as a city in itself, it's been growing a lot recently.
Yeah.
The last time I was in Fort Wayne, it was when I was out there for Christmas break, and like definitely I went to the Electric Works building, right? I went to that
Okay,
whole
I haven't even been
there.
there yet. Yes.
Yo, you should check it out. Like, it's not fully finished, but like what they do have in there is definitely still worth like a little stroll in the whole area. Like, it's actually really cool. And when I was in there with some friends with Dylan,
Yeah.
you remember, shout out to Dylan. When I was in there with him and my homie Brandon, um, it was like it reminded me of like something that I've like been to in like Colorado, like Denver specifically, or like
Yeah.
even some things that I've seen kind of somewhat out here a little bit. And it's like, okay, like Fort Wayne is trying to really grow into a city that has a little bit more presence to it. You know what I mean? Because whenever I hear about Fort Wayne, like from other sources, like there's this YouTube channel I listen to and then I watch called The World According to Briggs. It's a really interesting channel. He just talks a lot about things in like areas of the United States or areas of the world, like, you know, different kinds of things. And it was in a list of top 10 cities that are getting better to live at or something of the sort. Or no,
Fort Wayne
where
was?
yeah, Fort Wayne was on this list of not better. It was the top 10 list of where the murder rate has gone down. That's what it was.
Okay.
And
Hey, we did have a crazy couple summers back to back.
yeah. And apparently
Yeah.
Fort Wayne on this list that this guy said, Fort Wayne had deaths went down from 21 to 2022. And I thought that was interesting. I don't know. I be hearing a little bit about different things that happen out there in Fort Wayne in terms of, that kind of stuff. But like, possibly. I know that Fort Wayne has gotten better in terms of like it's one of the more affordable cities to live in, just in
Right.
overall in America, which is okay, cool. But there's always been that thing to where Fort Wayne sometimes is just very fucking boring, a little bit.
Yes. Yes.
It's a little boring. I mean, that's just a lot of Indiana cities in general, But like, yeah, and but more specifically, like the creativity in Fort Wayne, like I have definitely specific thoughts about the arts scene in Fort Wayne in general, but I definitely want to have you speak about your opinions and your kind of thoughts on like how do you think the city is in terms of like the arts and the creativity in the creatives space? Like, what is your thoughts on it? Do you think that it's thriving? Do you think that there's something lacking? Do you think that there's much more work to be done? Like, what do you think about that?
Um, I think Fort Wayne houses a lot of creativity, and a lot of those people either don't show it because they're nervous, or they do show it and they go about it in a way that it I can't respect you as an artist because I can't respect you as a person. And I know that's like two like crazy like opposites, but I think Fort Wayne as a whole is I think is getting better with their arts, like with all the murals and stuff around. The only part that is kind of discouraging about that is I'm always pro black whatever, and it's not a lot of black people. And the black people that do the murals um are like your Theos, which is great. Shout out to Theo. Um and so on the south side, we have like Ron Lewis and like Michael Johnson who are doing those on the south side, which is great. But I don't know if you saw the article, and people were kind of pissed off about this. Is they're building on Pontiac a grocery store that's literally covering the Truth mural that Ron Lewis and Lindsay, Lindy, and oh, forgive me, I can't remember the other lady's name is doing. Like they're literally
Mm.
covering it. So it's like if you guys are really and they don't understand why people are pissed about it. It was like, okay, so you commission these people to do this beautiful mural in the heart of probably one of like the roughest, I don't want to say roughest, but like,
Rougher
and I don't even
areas
want
of
to say,
Fort Wayne, yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? You're
It
trying
has
to
a
uplift
history,
and
yeah.
give positive, but you're gentrifying it. Not only are you gentrifying it, you're covering Black people's work
Mm-hmm.
for your cash cow, and you're not
Mm-hmm.
understanding why. So I think that's the downfall. It's like Fort Wayne really wants to be that place, but they make backward ass decisions that piss the people off that they need the most. And so that kind of pushes me into like the more positive side of it is causing us as a people to create our own spaces here. So like especially like towards the end of last year and this year, I've seen a lot of more Black people host their own events. Um, Kelly Hill Hicks, Kelly Hill Hicks. She got married. I'm so sorry. I cannot remember her name, her last name now. But it's Cameron's mom. She does a lot in the city. Been doing it for years. And you start seeing, like, I really feel like she's the influence of that because literally that lady has something going on every weekend. I never see her
Hmm.
take a break. And she's just an inspiration because she not raised not one, but two kids, and her second kid is autistic. So, like, I feel like I go to her for a lot. Like, hey, girl, how did you do this while taking care of Suge, while taking him to therapy, while still having the energy to do all this? You know what I'm saying? That's part of the reason why I do my art shows because of things like that. And the only other downfall is, so we could touch on like the music here. And I really see it more in music than I see it in like with the photographers or painters. Um is
The capping.
You
I'm
just
just
said it
kidding.
because I
I
was trying to
don't.
be nice about it now.
The capping.
Talent, they have the talent. It's just one ego and pride is so big here. I just wish everybody would just drop it. That people also do not know how to run. Being a rapper is a business, essentially. You have to market yourself, but you don't want to pay the money for studio time. If you're in the studio, you're on bullshit. Just to post on your Snapchat, turn it
Don't
up,
want to pay for
whatever. You don't
videos.
want to pay for
Nothing.
video, well shot videos. You don't want to pay for
Hmm.
videos. You're late to your photo shoots, or you don't even show up to your photo shoots. And then all you're posting, you're not even, you drop a song and then you just leave it. There's no content behind it. There's no leading. Oh, this is going to be on the album. This is nothing. And then people wonder why they don't get nowhere. You have to put the money and the time in. You can't just drop a song that you made 2 hours, that you had Tyrell stress and mix and master it in 2 hours, and then just go MIA for 2 months. And so, like,
Hmm.
my friend Tricito, I don't know if I did his entire rollout for
Yeah.
his album, The
The
Start of
what's
Something
it
Good.
called? The start of something
The
good.
Start
Yeah,
of Something, yeah, shout out to Tricito.
I've met
He's
him
a,
like one time or something like that a long time ago. But yeah, I've been seeing a lot of that being promoted and it looks dope. Shout out to him.
yes, he's a phenomenal rapper. And he just was one of those people that, like, he booked me for a shoot, him and B-Mick. And then he booked me for another one just for him. And then he was just like, yo, like, can I meet up with you and talk about my rollout for my album? And he literally gave me complete creative control. And I really feel like that's why it was received so well in the city is like, and I had to talk to him, like, you have to constantly post. Like, even if it's not, it doesn't have to be every day. It could be like twice a week, but you got to stay on feeds. You gotta, like, I did his cover off of my iPhone because
Hmm.
we didn't beat the sun to where we were supposed to go because both of our
Yeah.
schedules. Um, I told him it doesn't take much. I literally shot your cover off the iPhone. A 3 hour shoot to get everybody. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to his project, but it's based off of Cuphead the game, one like that 50s like aesthetic. And he
Okay.
has skits. He has skits
I fuck with
throughout
that.
the yeah, he has skits
Cause I
throughout
played
the
that game. That
album.
game is hard as fuck.
Man, I watched him play it and I was like, ooh, I got to switch for Christmas. He actually was the one that was like, yo, I used to be a Nintendo girl when I was younger.
Yeah.
And so we play like Among Us and like Mario Kart together or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he's showing me the inspiration and he was just like showing me like the music, like it's like a very upbeat, like, so it's based in like a bar in the 50s. And so all these different skits, he has all these different people. Like he literally wrote the scripts for everything. Like it's just like it's a very curated piece of work. That he could change that into anything. And so I saw that and I was like, yo, like you gotta let me like do this. And he was like, hell yeah. So we got all the people that was on the skits. I was like, dress up in black, like real
Hmm.
nice, because this is gonna get posted. So we did that. And so he had, leading up to his album dropping, he literally posted the bio of each character that was in his album. And I'm
Hmm.
even on one of the skits. I'm on the skit that's a woman with class, which I was terrified in the booth. I was like, I sound gross. I've never been asked to be put on an album. So we even went a step further where I know it's a little bit late, but I'm hosting his listening party. It's kind of like an invite only thing.
Yeah.
And then like people will be able to buy merch, and this will probably, I don't know when this will drop, and I'm sorry, Tricito, if I'm giving away, but I also created trading cards because he's a big like gamer. So like
That's really
Pokemon,
cool.
all that is his jam.
Really
So
cool. Yeah.
we did some, like, and I was just like so proud of myself because the one, I did it all on my own,
Yeah.
and two, it's like if y'all will take the time and pay, you can get beautiful work like that.
Yeah.
And you can, and not saying you're not something right now, like drop the ego and the pride. Don't know if you saw that double XL cover with all these different
Oh
rappers that's
yeah,
supposed to be
yeah.
on.
I seen that shit.
I'm sick of that shit. Like, I'm gonna just say it.
And
They
not
did
for
this
I
around
agree.
COVID. Like, if you're really that mad, go do it. First of all, you're acting like the actual, and I'm not trying to rag. So whoever listens to this, if you're mad, OGKillaKels, we could talk about it in my DMs. But one, it's not really double XL
It's not.
posting this.
Exactly. It's definitely not.
Two, why is y'all acting like he's not gonna have another one of these? You can only have so many artists in one showcase without it
Mhm.
being like 85 hours long. And three, if you're mad, just do one yourself. Just, you know what I'm saying? Put you and your homies that, because I kept seeing a lot
Right.
of, why isn't this person on here? Why isn't this? Have those people on that. I don't know
Who
80%
even
of those
does
people.
that? Who even does that shit? Like it's just that's
Q
gotta be some just
Scott, Q
random
Scott, and Wax Tracks was like, I think he's like pretty
part
big
of
on
it.
it too because he like went on live, and I agreed with what he was saying. Is like, hey, like we can't put all of y'all on one, like, but that's the problem with Fort Wayne. It's that ego and that
Yeah.
pride. Instead of being just happy for the motherfuckers that's just going on the showcase and doing it, you want to tag, why is it this person on here? And I had a couple of my homies who rap send it to me and was like, yada yada whoop de whoop. And I'm like, yo, like, I don't even want to say this in a way of like me being on some like hater shit, but like, you got bigger fish to fry.
That's
Like,
what I'm saying.
let them
See,
have that. Let them have that.
yeah.
You are
Yeah,
moving in a
yeah,
way
yeah.
where I got one of my homies, shout out to Stan. He opened up for in Oklahoma for like Genuine and like all these people in Oklahoma, and then like it's about to go crazy in New York. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Or like there's just like so many people here. You working for Marvel and like in the Bay, like you freaking took a picture with like one of the twins. Like focus
Hmm.
on shit like that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
you
yeah.
are, I don't even want to put people on pedestal, but like you've been that person before and you're no longer that person. So like act what you
Yeah.
want to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if people, I say that all to say, people just really, if you're gonna do this rap shit, do it.
Yeah. I
Like if
think
you're gonna do this rap shit, do it. That's pretty
overall,
much it.
like yeah, because I agree with you there. Like there's the music scene in Fort Wayne. I think there's only really a few that I even give a fuck about, if I'm being completely honest. And
Yeah.
there's I really like Dion. Of course, you were part of a production that we did for Dion. Whoa.
Uh huh.
And I see that she has another video coming out by Ty Well. Shout out to Ty Well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then there's this kid named Sevio. I don't know if you've heard of
Love.
him.
Shout to
Sevio,
Sepio.
yeah,
He's like a little
Sevio,
brother. I love him.
really, really dope music too. But if I'm being completely honest, and I've told Dion this too because I have a bit more of a closer connection with Dion than the Sevio do. But like, me personally, right? Just in terms of the people that I've worked with, and also just my own kind of prowess and critique, like, some I think there's so much more that a lot of these artists could be doing, right? Like just how you
Yeah.
explained it, just being able to continue to push their project and not just drop the shit and that's it, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
not just doing one video and then that's it, and shit like that. And just I think there's so much more that the artist should be doing. And I think, in particular, like those two are like the two that come to my mind first when I think about artists in Fort Wayne, musicians in Fort Wayne that I really like fuck with and like and interested in their growth and their projects, and I'm interested to work more with them. And I'm pretty sure Dion will probably, she's kind of sent me some stuff that she might want to possibly do a video for this year.
Let's go. I want
So
her. Like, she has
yeah,
such a beautiful voice. Like, Dion, if you're watching this, like, please, like, I will shoot your stuff for free. Like, let's get
like
this ball
she's done
rolling.
some great
Sebio,
stuff.
you too. Like, let's do it.
Exactly. I think it's just that, just to make sure that the content, like, to keep coming with the content, but just be strategic about it. Don't just be basic with it and just put out the same shit. And once again, don't cap about some shit. Like, I seen that whole magazine thing, right? About the whatever the fuck. I don't even remember. It was like top rappers in Fort Wayne. Like, when I seen the double XL thing, I feel like it's only there. Like, obviously, whoever thought it was actually double XL, I mean, y'all got to be dumb as fuck to think it was actually double XL. First and foremost, like, it's not actually double XL. It is
Right, right,
literally
right.
it is literally just some. It is just it is more of a spin-off, an homage, we'll say, to what double XL does with the freshman list, or these lists in general, right? But like, even that list, no disrespect to any of the rappers. There's only one of them rappers I think I've even heard of, like the Scoot the Kid. I've never even seen what that nigga looks like in person. But all I know is that I've heard his name in Fort Wayne a couple times. Boom, cool. But that's really, that list don't mean shit to me or to a lot of other people. I'm sure. People probably know about these folks, and they probably have great music or whatever else. But like, usually if I don't hear their name outside of Fort Wayne, then I know what the fuck that is. Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's my issue, is that there's just a lot of cap, there's a lot of ego that gets pushed up super heavily, but you don't really hear much about them besides this small pool of Fort Wayne. Because Fort Wayne, yes, is the second biggest city of Indiana, but it is a very small pool. It is not that
yeah,
big of a it's not that big of a city compared to a lot of other places. And just that in general, the art scene is very strong, and stuff out there. But in terms of just like the lack of content, the lack of wanting to pay for certain things, the pay to play aspect, right? Or just paying to push your stuff into other markets outside of Fort Wayne and Indiana and the Midwest. I think
yeah,
there's not a lot of like promotional push or that sponsorship from some of these more, I guess, bigger entities in Fort Wayne, right? Or there's sometimes not
yeah,
always that gigantic, like, collaborative aspect to it to help push each other's work, or to help be a part of that. And for me, that, like, when I started going into the world of filmmaking and just pushing that out there in the market of like Fort Wayne and Angola, especially in the film market, I'm sorry to whoever the fuck's a filmmaker in Fort Wayne, but the film market in Fort Wayne is also very, very, very small and very weak in terms of just like pushing things out there. There's movies being made out there, right? There's you can make a movie anywhere, but at the end of the day, like, if it's getting that big of a push, or if there's a lot of, you're getting certain kind of funds for it within the community coming together, that's not
yeah,
always the case,
yeah,
sometimes. So like, for me, I've seen a lot of these people, the rappers specifically, because I was mainly doing music videos at the beginning of my career. I've seen a lot of people do a lot of things and say a lot of things and have this gigantic ego about them that, for me, I just said to myself, like, I'm in this community too. I'm a part of this Fort Wayne, Angola creative community, whatever. But I just don't want to do whatever the fuck these people are doing, because I don't see it working for them. like currently, presently at that time, and just in the
yeah.
future, thinking ahead. But I just decided, no, I don't want to be a part of that. So I kind of personally, like, I had a few people I worked with musician wise, and I kind of just singled myself out and stayed away from the
Yeah,
crowd. I would work with whoever, especially if they
yeah.
had, once again, the proper intention, and if they had the proper funds. Yeah, it's definitely I was definitely able to work with them. But at the end of the day, there's there to me is just, there's a ceiling, I feel like, for a lot of that, the creative community. And I think we obviously, we know plenty of people that have like left the Fort Wayne area and left Indiana to try to pursue further, and like, sometimes they'll give back to Fort Wayne, and then sometimes they don't.
Sometimes, yeah, they don't.
you
Yeah,
know
which is
um
sad.
which is crazy. But like, what do you think is like, what do you think the creatives need in Fort Wayne to succeed? Like, do you think that there's a specific like organization, or a specific amount of funds, or a specific collaborative community project, or something that would really bring that success out for creators in Fort Wayne? Like, what do you think the city needs to be successful?
Probably funds. That probably would help a lot. We definitely need more creative spaces here. I It's so hard to find a studio to shoot here. And if I do find a studio, they want 250 even if you're just using it for an hour. Um
Do
so
you remember that
definitely like
just sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
do you remember that studio we shot in for Dion's video? You know they closed down, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I seen that. I
Yes,
seen
and I
that
was
the other day.
chuckling because I'm like, y'all did the most with Stefan. Like y'all did the absolute most.
Yeah.
I really honestly think it was because it was black. I'm not even gonna lie, but
Yeah. They charged me a minute out the door. I was
they
1 minute
charged
over and
you, bro.
crazy.
Yes. And it's just like
Crazy.
because I've had people when you told me how much you paid, and then I talked to other people who have used that space, I'm just like, maybe they heard music video and just thought like they're gonna
Thought
trash
of
this
something bigger.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And like I still think she shouldn't have done that to you. That's like real that sucks because like
Yeah.
that spot was so nice.
Mm-hmm.
Um
So not around no more. Unfortunately or fortunately,
no, it's not. That's
whatever.
crazy. That did happen.
Yeah.
So that and then just
And even places like Punch, I know Punch has their studios, but Punch is very expensive to shoot in because they're of a notable size, for a production company, and
commercial. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean. And I'm not, like I don't know specifically what kinds of I've seen the projects that Punch does, and I've known of like a few people that float in and out of there, but that shit is always too expensive for a lot of like individual folks or like real indie productions to really shoot in sometimes. It's
Yeah.
usually like you gotta be of a certain size to even be able to pay the amount of hours that you want to be in there, you know
Exactly. Exactly. And a
yeah.
lot of the times when they charge it, that's how much I charge for the shoot. So it's like I'm really just giving this to you for free, but I feel bad being like, okay, 350, and then that's the one thing
Yeah.
about if you're like 100 with me and I really believe in what you're trying to do, $75, bro. $75 or whatever. But yeah, I think it's just people just like I keep saying the whole ego thing, like everything's not a competition. Like if we could get in these spaces together and just like really just sit down and talk about like our dreams and what we're trying to do, we all can feed off of each other to like make it where we want to go.
Mhm.
And that's something I'm trying to like something I'm attempting to create right now is like monthly meetings for like black creatives here. Like, hey,
Yeah.
we'll be here for 2 hours. We can talk about a topic. We don't have to talk about a topic. If you have resources that another person has, like we're not going to gatekeep. You got to be able to be 100 and be open, and then like pitch your ideas or your strategy and be receptive to criticism, I guess, or like just advice like, hey, bro, I don't think that's a good idea because I tried that before and it didn't work. Try it this way. I just feel like if we just
Mhm.
all love on each other a little bit more, like
Yeah, there's almost
it'll
got to be
work.
like a union, like you know what I mean,
Yes, because
like
a lot of there are groups like that out here. It's just not a lot of So
right, right. And it's the gatekeeping situation. It's like there's certain information, there's certain like resources
oh,
that they
there's
just
all
don't
these
want you to be
buildings
at. Yeah,
downtown.
yeah,
Why do we not know who owns these and if they rent them out? I be seeing some photographers. I'd be like, "Where is that spot at? That's so crazy." You know.
and yeah, people, it's
But
it's
yeah,
insane, and I'll say for myself, like sometimes a lot of my critique about people in Fort Wayne comes from a competitive side of me for sure as well, right? But
yeah,
because sometimes I'll see like certain people who shoot videos out there, and I see how they push things, and I see like where and maybe and sometimes I have to remember to sometimes calm some of that down, right? Because a lot of it comes from
yeah,
the obvious fact that it's like, okay, I probably have done like many much more bigger things than a lot of people in Fort Wayne in terms of that world, in terms of like who I've gotten able to work with and the projects I've done, and like even my own things with SW Films, all of that shit. But in general,
right.
it's just like there is a big ego, and there's just a lot of things. There's a lot of just not people who there's that saying. It says, community over competition. I think, right? I think that's just like
Yep.
a huge statement that a lot of people need to feed off of that. It should be more of a community aspect than competition. And I love that the idea, or just not an idea, but the action of you guys taking time to meet up, however many times a month or whatever it may be, just to talk about what you're able to do is super important,
Yeah.
But I think just people got to stop capping. That's really what it is. Like
That's
I
really what
have
it is, bro.
I have I have so many thoughts about Fort Wayne's creative community, and I love Fort Wayne. It's obviously I wasn't raised there, but I was born there, and I have a lot of family roots rooted in Fort Wayne. So Fort Wayne is also home to me as well. So that's one of the reasons I have such an even strong opinion about it anyway. But there has to be something, and I think one thing is just having some sort of funds in support of these bigger brands and names and organizations and bigger resources that whoever gatekeeps that information for in Fort Wayne needs to be able to give that to creatives, and I think it's great that, because there's different arts that shine in Fort Wayne heavily, right? Like you look at the arts, the actual arts, like the painting and graphic design side. Like I see Theo, who is definitely like a huge artist in that space, right? And that's
Yeah.
super big. And then I think about music, like I would say the bigger music person I always usually see that I've kind of seen and have heard for a long time, T Zank is one person that comes to mind
Yeah.
when I think about like music and stuff. And he's a very different individual. Of course, he's on the white side, but at the end of
Yeah.
the day,
Yeah.
like he's kind of been, at least from my eyes, he's kind of been that figure that kind of shows some of those opportunities that you can do with music from being in that spot. And I hope to actually interview him, because there's a whole history that I have with him and his impact musically around Fort Wayne, Angola, wherever. But there's even
He's
like
doing some
Nizzy,
crazy things right now. I think he's about
yeah,
to open up for like Lil
Lil
Wayne.
Wayne. I seen that Lil
Yeah, I
Wayne. Yeah,
saw that.
yeah,
I was like,
which is
kudos.
huge, super huge, right? And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
Nizzy Nice was kind of that space for a while. Nizzy was in that space, and
Yeah.
then I don't really know, he became a ghost. And then
Yeah.
you know, I'm sorry, I haven't heard of Nizzy in a minute for in a long time. But then in the photography space, I say you have been on the top of that for me. Like I know there's a bunch of other photographers that have been doing a lot of dope shit, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of photographers in Fort Wayne they've all been like kind of clumped up in one niche specifically a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And to
Yeah.
me, that's gotten rather, boring, but not to take
Yeah.
away from any of their talent, the talent that they have. And then film, you know, uh, film is not much. I mean, there's a few people, right? There's a few folks, like there's a lot of people who I have in my film family from Fort Wayne, like Taylor Fredericks, Adam King, and Bryce Fritzl, all those guys, like doing some amazing stuff. But I think at this end of the day, like until Fort Wayne can have like a impactful movie made there, will it really be able to stand apart? I know that they had some film happening maybe a year or two ago that starred I forget who the fuck it starred. It starred, doesn't Hillary Duff have like a sister?
Yes.
I
I or was it Hillary Duff that was here?
I wasn't Hillary Duff. Shit, if it was Hillary Duff, then I would have had to come back home for
I
that.
think she does have I think she does have a sister. I can't
I
remember her
want to
name
say,
though.
I want
I
to say
remember that
Haley. I
though.
think it's Haley Duff or
Haley,
something.
yes, it is Haley Duff. Yes, she
Right.
was here.
Yeah, she was there working. There was a movie that starred her on. Yeah, whatever. And of course, Haley Duff, that name is not like, that name is not going to bring a lot of names, like bring a lot of like tickets, maybe like a Keanu Reeves or whoever the fuck, right? But like still, that was dope. I remember when I was doing a production for a clothing company in Fort Wayne, and I remember seeing some of the grip trucks and stuff like that parked over by the courthouse. And I'm like, okay, that's cool to see. But once
Yeah.
again, it's just like it feels like there's a ceiling for a lot of stuff. And I think the only way that ceiling goes away is just community and the
Yeah.
proper resources for people to do it. But also at the end of the day, like you said, like people just got to start making their own shit. Like that magazine shit, obviously Wax Tracks and whoever the hell made that, they've decided they acted on that. They decided, hey, there's double XL, let's
Yeah.
just
And
make our own thing.
it's a great concept, but it's just
Yeah, yeah.
it's not even them. It's just and I know they knew that it would be received in different ways. And so kudos to them for like actually putting it on and like being able to receive that, because that would drive me nuts. Because I would have just
Yeah.
got on there and be like, look, motherfuckers.
Now,
Like,
what would you do because they always do that for rap shit. Like, cool, whatever. Forget about them damn rappers. What if they just made a list of like, all right, top 10 photographers? Like, like I'm surprised ain't nobody made a list like that, like about some other shit. Which I see why they do it with music, because there's more with rap, at least. There's much more of like that competitive edge outwardly, when it comes to rappers and shit. But that'd be funny if one day they just put out a top 10
Hey,
photographers or videographers or some shit.
yeah,
Where
actually that's a good.
are you
I
gonna
would,
stay claiming
if
it?
I wasn't, I would because I know how Fort Wayne is. But if my name was not on there, or if I was on a spot that I didn't think like, I could probably been higher. Like I know what my work is, and I know how people feel about me. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's kind of like how I told my homies about that cover. Is like, oh, your worth, dog. You know you're a bomb ass rapper. Just because you're not, there's so many showcases that go on around that you have not been a part of.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? So like, what's
yeah,
the difference? Just because Q Scott's throwing it, just because people on Facebook, because we don't see it nowhere but Facebook.
yeah.
Facebook is like up in the uproar about it. Then
Yeah,
you
nah,
know,
for real.
I got.
And going based off of that, of what you said about, you talked about what if there was a list for photographers. And one thing, I think this is a great question, because I think I've heard you mention this in the beginning of the podcast, just talking about, you being humble,
Yeah,
and just, and just kind of just taking everybody's, congratulations and praise and love towards you, and just being humble about it, and not, I guess, going about the face of it, and just going crazy
yeah.
about, oh, I'm this and that, right? Like, do you use your competitive nature, or do you have that competitive nature every now and again, as doing what you do with photography, and even with the art shows, and just in general with your arts? Do you have any sort of competitive nature, or do you just kind of keep humble throughout?
Um, keep humble throughout, but behind the scenes, I definitely get my shit off.
Okay, okay.
And the way that I do that is outside my humbleness. I guess I'll flex a little bit. There's no one in the city right now doing the things that I'm doing. There's nobody that, if you're a photographer, you're not hosting events, and you're not, curating art shows. Um, a lot of people here in town are doing photography just for money. That's great. But like I have
Mhm.
heard, I love the art of it. And I think that's why I set aside on other things, because a lot of these photographers here are technical. They literally went on YouTube, learned how to use a DSLR, and then went on Skillshare and learned how to use presets or whatever, and just be like, bam, color grading. You could teach yourself how to shoot in a month if you no kids, no job, no nothing, about a month, 2 months to
Basic
be
shooting, I
basic.
would say.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
basic
Basic
shooting
shooting.
with some presets. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess I could toot my own horn on that. I think what I don't really have a sense of competitiveness because of what I just said, but I do be feeling some kind of way, and I've seen it a lot these past like last month and this month, and I'll say it out loud now because I was keeping it to myself, but a lot of stuff that the photographers are doing here now, I've already done
Mm,
here.
mm-hmm.
And one big thing that I have already seen is like Valentine's Day, these backdrops with like the 90s look to it. I did it last year, which I'm not going to say anything because
Mm-hmm.
shit, you might do it better than I did. So go ahead. But there's always that
Mm-hmm.
little twinge in the back of my head where it's like I did that. I did that
Right. It's
already.
like you
Where was
influenced.
y'all when I did it? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Where was
yeah.
I? Where was y'all? Some of y'all even participated in it. And not to say that I came up with that, because I got that idea off of Pinterest and I bought the backdrop and it was like $30. Okay, cool. And I did some mini sessions. So it wasn't like and I never really, I guess to like defense also, like I never really posted those. That was really just a quick like August needs like 3 boxes of pamper pull-ups. So how can I make
Mm-hmm.
$150 real quick? But um I'm starting to get away from that stuff, and like truly if it doesn't come from my chest, then I'm not gonna do it. So
Yeah.
I think to answer your
Why?
question, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, well, why, it always is great to be humble, right? Because I would like,
Yeah.
I like to think of myself as humble, and I'm sure there's people that don't think I'm humble, and I think where that comes from is sometimes when people see you post a lot of your work, people start to get pretty insecure, especially if they don't feel like they're doing something as good, or if they're not doing something at all. They
Yeah.
kind of start to think that you're just bragging about it, and somehow, they just get in their head
Yeah.
about, this person thinks that they're better than me and this kind of shit. I think what it is just a lot of insecurity when people just when people see you congratulate yourself or celebrate something that you've done, I spoke about that to one of my homies, and it was just like, yo, I've been humble, and I'm gonna continue to be humble when it comes to like a majority of a lot of the things that I'm involved in, or the things that I do, or the people I speak with. But at the end of the day, yo, there's like barely a lot of niggas that I know that can fuck with me on this film shit, and I know that I'm only getting
Hey,
better
talk, come
because,
on,
like,
talk your shit,
you know,
Stefan.
and I know that because of the what I have coming out, what I have planned, but also just the resources and the network that I have around me too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think in general, like, to even put it too, like, I think because I have you as one of my homies, one of my people who I love to death, and
Yeah.
a huge creative as yourself, that is also
Yeah.
one of those reasons that makes me better than a lot of motherfuckers in terms of the craft in the competitive nature, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think it's not a bad thing to have a competitive nature, because I think, especially in a place like Fort Wayne, which is a very small place,
Yeah.
I think in general the competition, sometimes the competition has to be there, because at the end of the day, Fort Wayne is such in a small market to where, sometimes the clients, the potential clients, they might only see one person and think that this is the one person that does it all, and they might not even want to turn their head to look at whoever the fuck else is doing shit, you know.
Exactly.
And also, just people, like, you got to think about it like this too, right? That person who, or those people who have like done those kind of similar things, kind of shoots or certain styles like yours, they definitely were influenced, and
Yeah.
sometimes they just, they once again, that insecurity of admitting it, that they were influenced.
Yeah.
I could admit
I
if I'm influenced
come
by
on,
people.
because I'd be like, look, I went off of Pinterest and found 5 photos from a different
Yeah,
artist, and I just put my twist on it. It's nothing. Everything is recycled. It's just
yeah,
as long as you're not ripping it off and you're putting your own spin to it. It's a difference between being inspired and just taking.
for sure.
And I think that's kind of like the difference between me is like somebody will send me a picture and I'll straight up tell them like, well, I'm not shooting it exactly like that because that's not my work, but I can get something close to it. And I've always gotten, yo, this is
Yeah.
better than what I expected. So
Right. And now
yeah,
exactly, like, so for me saying that I feel like ain't nobody fucking with me with it, that also comes with knowing that I have also so much that I can improve on every single time.
exactly.
I'm not the greatest director. Like, I'm not at that level yet, but I know that there's not a lot of motherfuckers that are doing what I'm doing already, whether, just regardless if it's just within this industry or just with what I own with SW
Yep.
Films and stuff like that, and just the energy. No matter what, I don't think anybody has the energy that I got. I know that for a
Hey, come
motherfucking
on.
fact. But like,
You
but
already
regardless,
know. Yeah,
regardless though, it just when it comes to, just my craft and how much I've invested into it and how much I love it, I don't think it's a bad thing for me to celebrate what I've done, because at the end of the day, sometimes there might not be a lot of people that's going to celebrate for me. Like, you know how it is, right? When it comes to when you first start out in your career, there was probably not anybody that really truly believed in you besides yourself. You had to be your own damn cheerleader.
man.
You know
And
what I mean?
I peep when it's not saying that I don't see it at all either. I
Mhm.
peep when certain people like my stuff and share my stuff. I try to share whenever it comes across my feed. And I also understand the algorithm sucks. But I definitely be
Mhm.
peeping, but I don't take it that way. I kind of just take it as like a we have two totally different things going on,
Yeah.
and that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Last question for you,
All
because
right.
there's so much amazing things that you've done. And I mean, I know me and you, we'd be on this damn thing for fucking
Oh my
24 hours.
gosh. Hey, look, honestly, because if my cousin ain't have my child, I'd be like, yo, we can keep going if you want.
So, what do you think? What does your future look like in 3 to 5 years as OGKillaKels? What does that look like? What do you want it to look like? What do you think it should look like?
Trying to figure out how I can put this. So I'm definitely get tapping into like I definitely want to A&R. And I've been thinking about it a lot because if I do anything that I do, I take it seriously. Like I'm 100% in there. And so I don't even think I just love music so much, you know that, and I know when I hear a good rapper or a good singer or like a good beat, and I want to play my part in the music industry. I cannot sing. I do not play no instruments. I don't know how to produce, but I have so many people here that will send me their stuff and be like, I know it's hard if Kelsey says it's hard, you know. So I definitely
Mhm.
want to tap more into that. It's funny, me and Tracy though actually was talking about, he was like, you should be like DJ Khaled and like curate an album. I was like,
I
that's
was
actually
thinking the
pretty
same shit.
dope. I was
Yeah,
like, that's
yeah.
actually pretty dope. And since you said that too, like maybe I'll tap into that more. I definitely want to shoot. My goal is to shoot right now Jay Versace. He's a
Mm,
producer. He also was on
yeah.
Vine, all of that. But I love SZA's SOS. I could not stand SOS at first. I think I tweeted
Hey,
that, and
warmed
you
up to it.
okay?
Yeah.
So hey, you're hearing me now. I was on some hater shit because I really wanted control, but I realized this is like the more mature version of control. Like I still
Yeah.
hate you, nigga, but I'm not. You know, I'm choosing me. Um, and so Jay Versace produced Smoking on My X Pack and SOS. And
Oh,
like
fire.
I just I just love him so much. And like he's just so inspiring because he went from like where I'm at now to like Vine and then producing for SZA. He's like a Tyler creator where like he
Yeah.
does a whole bunch of things you didn't even know he did. And so like literally random times of the night, he'll be like, DM me. I'm opening my DMs. And I literally every time send my website and be like, I would love to shoot you one day. I've done it
Yeah.
4 times. So I'm hoping he responds. So
Yeah.
I think just to tap into the music industry, I don't care if it's a Chicago rapper. I don't care. It could be Chris Brown. Hell, it could be Drake. You don't never
Mhm.
know this day and age with social media. So I think I definitely need to start thinking bigger. Like I say, I start thinking bigger. I've done my work here in Fort Wayne. I've done it for like almost 10 years. So now I'm just like, kind of like when you said, what's the ceiling? Like, I really feel like I'm like trying to like bust through it.
Bust through it.
Um, and just like personal goals, I want to buy a house. Um, I would love, my love life is ass. It has been ass since the beginning of time, but like I'm starting with it because I'm 28. I'll be 29, so I'm almost in my 30s. Like I'm really starting to like want a family, which is really weird because I always say it's just gonna be me in August forever. But like I just want to just like
Yeah.
see more personal growth. I've seen
Yeah.
growth in my photography. Now it's like um not to get like super sad, but I lost my best friend in October, Emery. And
Condolences and rest in peace. Yes.
thank you. I appreciate that. They were just like the light in my world of
Hmm.
chaos that I live in. And so when I lost Emery, like I really fuck photography. There's no reason
Hmm.
for it because I know they're not going to be in my DMs. Yes, bitch, like that shit, like
Hmm.
that. That's not going to happen anymore. And so me and Emery always had talks of the question that you asked, and we always planned to like get a house together, and their cat will, you know, like
Hmm.
Chicago. And so I just feel like they're like sitting next to me and they're just like, I know I'm not there, but like everything that we talked about, like you still need to do.
Hmm.
And so that is really my 3 to 5 years, like everything that we talked about. So I'm gonna go get a house. I'm gonna figure out how to tap in to the
Hmm.
music industry. I also too have been doing this business plan that I started in college. I want to open up like a creative hub here for people like me who cannot find a studio, who cannot find somewhere to have an art show, like be able to offer all those services. So I want
Yeah.
to be able to get a grant, so I ain't got to pay nothing, and open
Hmm.
up like that center to where like it's like literally a makeshift whatever you want it to be. There's no restrictions. You want to hang, put knives in the nails in the wall, we'll caulk it over like that. Or
Yeah.
if you want to sell your music, like give me 5% of it and you can have the rest. Like solely
Hmm.
a community based nonprofit. I really don't give a fuck if I make money off of it. I don't know if that's just what God instilled in me, but I just really feel like I was put on this earth to help. Because like even in my darkest days, like literally like 2 days after Emery passed away, I was doing an art show, and it's like they never left. It's like
Mhm.
I'm able to put aside what I'm dealing with to touch somebody else. So that's my
Yeah,
goals for that.
that's beautiful.
And tap into a different style of shooting. I definitely want to get into documentary style shooting. Like the
Yeah,
dream, like that. I look at Dreamville's freaking when they did that compilation album, that
yeah,
documentary, which I need to talk to you because I remember that idea you're talking about. Do some shorts of like the crazy ass shit that happens in my life. Like I
yeah,
definitely we need to talk.
yeah.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
that's pretty much what OG has planned for this year and these next couple of years coming up. So
That's beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. One last thing I want you to leave the listeners here. It's something I always ask. Something I always ask my guests is just a message to give to folks. What would your message be to someone who has been in your position or who is in your position? Someone who
hmm
is dealt with a challenge, a challenge, whether it be motherhood, being a single
Yeah.
mother, dealing with just the inconsistencies with certain, clients and just certain resources and stuff like that in terms of like their creative endeavors.
Yeah.
What message would you give to someone who has dealt with those or who is dealing with those things now?
I know this sounds like so cliche, but literally, like, do not give up. Like, literally, put all of that, like, frustration, anger, like, uncertainty into your work because that's just how you're going to keep getting better. Because those stops, you got to figure out a way around it. And, like, you figuring out a way around it is maybe a new skill, it may be a new location. Hell, you might figure out you're a grassroots person and be like me where it's like I'm not accepted in this part, so let me make something that's acceptable for me to be a part of, and um I've been through a lot. I know you know that, like, and there has been moments where I'm just like fuck it, like I'm just not gonna do this, but then like I literally sit and think about it and be like, then I won't be Kelsey. You know what I'm saying? Like what I'm gonna go to work and come home, like that's so boring to
Right.
me, you know what I'm saying? So like literally all of that, for anything that gives you an ick, anything that like just makes your blood boil, go shoot, go write a lyric, go. You could write about what the shit that pissed you off, like
Yeah.
do that, and then like I always say, going through those hard times will create something beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Me losing my best friend is a blessing and a curse. You know what I'm saying? It's a curse because they're no longer here to walk my journey with me, and I cannot walk my journey with them, but at the same time it was an inspiration also because you're just another drive for me to like get where I'm going. So just use,
Yeah. Yeah. Keep going and
just
everything. Yep.
use your anger. Yeah.
That's
Sorry, hold
beautiful.
on 1 second. I'm sorry, my dad is calling me again. 1 sec. Sorry,
Shout out, Pops.
but yeah, that's it. That's
That's
it.
beautiful. That's incredible. Yo, OG, Killer Kels, Kelsey Martin, thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. This was
Of
incredible.
course. Thank you for having
Um,
me.
yes, and I know we
Thank you for
we
having
didn't
me.
we didn't delve into also your podcast as well, the vent that you had. I know that you're
Yeah.
also reinventing the podcast and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to hear just about everything that goes on with that as well, and to shit even hop back on the pod one time,
Oh
talk
yeah, it's gonna
talk
be a
some.
totally different thing. I don't even think it's gonna. We can talk about it definitely later, but
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
gonna be more of like a conver. I want it to be. It's just not no interview. Like we're just gonna just start
yeah,
talking, and then that's just it. So
yeah, for sure.
yeah, thank you.
That's
I
what's
appreciate
up.
you for giving me the platform to be on here. You are awesome. SW Films is going to be. It is already great, but 2023, I like just have this feeling for me and my homies like this is going to be the year, and we're already starting off strong. So
Very,
Proud of
absolutely.
you. I'm proud of
Thank,
you, friend.
thank
I
you.
am.
I'm proud of you. And once again, you're excellent. For the listeners, where can they reach you at as far as social media and stuff like that? Where can they find your stuff at?
Yeah, so I'm OGKillaKels on Instagram, Kelsey Martin on Facebook, or I do have a like page, OGKillaKels. I'm definitely getting better at posting on that. If you're feeling a little spicy, I am on Twitter, OGKillaKels. I just be really good at getting off on there. So if you're looking for anything professional on there, I'm probably either getting blocked by Vlad TV or getting dragged in my meetings because I have outrageous opinions. So, but yeah, and OGKillaKels.com if you want to see my work. But yeah,
That's beautiful, yo. Thank you, Kelsey, for being a part of
course,
this. This
of
is
course.
amazing. And thank you to all my listeners. You guys already know what to do, man. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Follow if you're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I hope you guys enjoyed this one, yo.
Yeah,
and thank you once again, Kelsey. And yeah, guys, we'll see you guys on the very next episode.